So I experimented with some different models for the meeting assistant feature I'm building today, and I wanted to show off the results, mostly just because it's great nerd bait. So the idea is that we got a transcript, and then we send a bunch of instructions up with the transcript to a model, and it sends us back talking points, a brief summary of what's been discussed recently, action items, JSON format, a fairly complicated bit of questions. The talking points have to be about issues that haven't been discussed yet in the transcript. The instructions tell the model to prefer recent transcript entries, and the model has to be able to pull older information from the transcript for action items. So there's quite a bit going on here. I was excited about the possibility of using Llama 4 Scout and Quen just because they're so fast and they're quite a bit cheaper than Gemini 3 Flash, which is our baseline. This is what we've developed the feature with. It works pretty well. We get about 2 to 3 seconds. That's maybe a little bit expensive compared to the alternatives. So yeah, let's give it a try. We're gonna start a meeting. I'm going to paste in some of this context as the script, some data for the model to use to suggest talking points. And here we are discussing our priorities, what I'm going to be doing here for each model. I'm going to evaluate the total time from the initial response to the final output, evaluate subjective quality differences. This is, of course, an ad hoc test here. This is good for video. I also had Claude create a script that systematically tests these models with the same inputs. And then I have Claude again evaluate the outputs and rate the model based on a set of criteria. So I'll show that at the end. All right, let's save. Let's show Flash as our baseline. Live meeting here. All right, well, talking point 1. I mean, this is more of a summary item in my opinion. Show Gemini Flash baseline results. Great. That's actually what we're working on. That's a pretty good talking point. All right. Here we've got a reasonable, probably fairly short transcript, taking about 1.9 seconds for this particular run. 1,200 some tokens in, a few tokens out. The summaries are generally pretty on target for Gemini and for all the models. All the models seem to be pretty great at summarization. Set a date to create and publish presentation model comparison. Yeah, we talked about that. Due Friday, February 13th. I'm not sure if we covered that in the transcript. Let's make that due by the end of today, though. All right, reload. Oh, I think it's flashing the action items tag for a second there. Now we can see due Friday, February 13th by the end of the day. Let's make that due today at the end of the day. There we go. The 12th. Okay. Let's take a look at the talking points. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Great idea, Gemini. Let's experiment with Llama 4 Scout. Gemini 3 Flash took 2.1 seconds. Let's load it. Oh, 4 Scout. Oh, action items really custom layout reflow there. But look at how fast it goes. A half second here. For some reason, with this test data, Llama 4 really wants to talk about Sarah. Sarah is nowhere in the transcript or in the prepared notes. I'm not sure where it's getting this Sarah name from, but it seems like a common hallucination. I could check the logs, but really odd. We have an emotional intelligence point that's, a little unnecessary here. What's most important is the talking points. Gemini 3 Flash is the baseline. Something we've already covered. Evaluating Llama 4 Scout next. Well, that's what we're actively talking about. Let's see if it picks up on that. Hallucinates about Llama 4 Scout hallucinates. So these are summaries. They aren't talking points. Within our instruction, we tell the LLM to present only new topics and questions that remain unaddressed in the transcript. So it's not following that instruction. It's a pretty big deal. It's kind of the main feature here. There might be a way, right, to get it to work better. Maybe if we gave the model a simpler input, just the information it needs. This model is so cheap and fast, we could run multiple calls in parallel and then stitch them together and we'd get that crazy half-second performance and potentially still less cost than Gemini 3 Flash. It's just each call to the model would not have the entire context. So it's unlikely that we would get talking points that were as intelligent as the Gemini 3 Flash talking points. So I haven't tried it, but it could be an interesting thing to explore. Let's reload. So fast. This is through the Groq provider. This is they seem to be the fastest. Let's try Quen. Llama 4 Scout's not going to work, right? For this case, right? Quen takes a little longer. The weird formatting here. This is stuff that, if we optimize the instructions for Quen, we might be able to get rid of some odd formatting issues. Oh, for some reason, we're missing an entire section in this run. We only have what appears to be summaries, or it might think they're talking points, right? Presentation deadline set for February 12th. Okay. It appears to be pulling information it may be pulling information that's only from the transcript from the summaries. We don't know if these are summaries or talking points. I don't know. All right. Still very fast though. Okay. Once we're over 2 seconds, then we would expect the quality to be as good as Gemini. Status of the presentation deadline for the model comparison. This is a question that did not come up recently in the transcript, so I would rate it down for that. Flash baseline results. All right. I mean, it's something that we could talk about. It isn't really something that we've really relevant to what we're discussing now in the transcript. This is more of a summary item. Another summary item from further back. I love that now we've got this model talking about Sarah, but it is in the transcript now. So, all right. Well, let's reload that one more time. Quinn, we haven't evaluated all 7 models yet. So that's wrong. All right. Quinn, not great results, right? GPT, OSS, under 1 billion. Give it a load. Okay, performance is about the same as Gemini 3 Flash. You can see, again, these talking points are more summaries than they are unique points that we can bring up to sound a little more on it in meetings. Not super great. DeepSeek, this one was another one that was promising. This one is through Fireworks, different provider. We can see 3.1 on Fireworks, and I think the 3.1 model in general performs faster. Here again, instead of talking points, we're getting summaries. We might be able to tweak the instructions to get better results from these models, but I just don't feel like we've come close enough to anything interesting to expect great results from just giving it slightly different inputs. 2.9 seconds here. Our transcript is getting longer. We don't necessarily have any summarization of the transcript happening yet. It's not really following our formatting instructions. We are able to get this action items, from way back in the transcript, so that's good. Some of the other models tend to lose that as the context becomes longer. Just because of the time. Kimi 2.5 and GLM 4.7 did not perform very well. They're fairly fast on Groq. These models aren't really designed to do this type of work. I tested them anyway because they're easy to throw in there. Yeah, so looks like we're going to be sticking with Gemini Flash 3. Although I do think that idea of breaking the prompt into multiple sections and giving a faster LLM, smaller, more manageable chunks is pretty interesting, maybe for a future Claude's more formal and systematic test here. This is run 2, maybe a little more complicated on the second run. In this case, we do have a Sarah Marcus. This is a different transcript that it generated. I wanted to see how well these models were pulling out action items, remaining consistent and showing the action items throughout the entirety of the meeting. Some other criteria, whether it uses the interpersonal instruction correctly, if it fabricates any information. Fairly comprehensive, right? And these models are so good now. GLM 4.7 was disqualified. QN, fast but dangerously inconsistent. The GPT, solid but slow and expensive. Kimi, best action item, coverage, overgenerates. Mediocre across the board of things. And this one, I felt that my experiments with it went a little bit better, so the latency isn't super great. Most consistent, best format compliance here. Here we can see Claude ranked Gemini 3 Flash number 1, slowest viable option. Well, I don't know, I thought DeepSeek was maybe slower in my tests. Gemini was number 1, even more convincingly with a harder transcript. Perfect 777 action item consistency. 1.5 surprise performer. We didn't show Kimi, but it didn't do too great on talking points when I tested it. Q3 maybe doesn't handle older context very well. It's just not even for this. Caps out on comprehension with complex transcripts. Right. Yeah. So we're going to be sticking with Gemini 3 Flash for now. Right. So it's getting late, but in the last run, GLM was broken. So I felt bad leaving things the way they were. Did a quick fix, disabled thinking for GLM. It's running on the Fireworks platform. And Claude thinks that has rated it as number 1. It's rated it better than Gemini. So I feel like that's worth stitching together a follow-up video part 4. Let's give it a test and record a meeting. Paste this bit in here. So we have a baseline here. We ran the same video earlier. Let's run the live meeting here. Actually, I really got to fix that. Here, first run took 2.7 seconds. Yeah, it's giving us some talking points about Quinn. Yeah, some stats I could list. I'm going to go into talking about GLM. Second load, 4.1 seconds. I was getting better latency earlier. Definitely nothing over 2 seconds. That's a little weird. I'm just going to try to refresh it here a couple times. See if it has something out. 1.9 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, it might have something to do with us not pre-warming a connection or slowness from the provider. Maybe, there are other requests coming in even though it's getting late. Yeah, let's test this. Let's create and publish a presentation about model comparison work Saturday before the end of the day, before the end of Saturday. See if it picks up that action item. Did a pretty great job. We're not seeing performance that's latency that's better than Gemini right now. And if we're going to look at it, if we note our pricing, it's a little bit more expensive for input tokens, a little bit cheaper for output tokens from Fireworks. Might be interesting to check a different provider for GLM 4.7. 4.7 might not even be the latest model from that lab. So it would be worth looking into. Might get a little bit, might get some better results for the meeting assist. Yeah. Thanks for watching.